Welcome back to the channel. Well, it's a very exciting day today as I get to hang with my old friend, Mike Kojima. Now, I haven't seen Mike for quite some time, but a quick story, background, he's one of the pioneers in the industry and one of the first people I met, just an all-around super good guy and a out-and-out genius. He's the president of More IQ, but really for me, it's my friendship with him, what I love so much. When I actually started racing this little race car called the 7, he was actually running his Z, and I love the Z. That was one of my first Japanese cars, and he helped me through and through to modify that car, so I was so lucky. It was such a great time. But as time's moved on, both of us are doing different things. And he, of course, is mega successful with More IQ. Now, they have their own YouTube channel, and they do all sorts of crazy stuff, and much more brilliant things than I do on my own. So for those of you that are interested, I highly recommend you check it out. You can see the channel there. But luckily today, I'm just having a blast cruising around with him, and we're in this amazing GT-R. Now, most of you know that I am a fan of the GT-R. I don't own one, but Mike has been a huge proponent in trying to convince me to buy one. But as all of you know, I love the NSX, that's my thing. We've recently been talking about maybe someday in the near future I should try and get a Nismo GT-R. However, he's really got me sold on his, and he makes a good case for the fact that the Nismo is just so expensive. So he's gonna break it down what he's done to this thing. Well, brother, it's so good to see you. You look like you haven't aged a day, my friend. I mean, I feel ancient looking at you.
Oh, I mean, you look the same too. I mean, my hair's grayer and I'm fatter, but...
Oh, come on, my man. You're in ultimate shape here. Well, tell me about the GT-R, brother, because I know you think that I should add one to my collection. What have you done to this amazing machine?
Well, you know like how my cars always tend to be sleepers? So I try to make it, so they look pretty stock, but you have a lot of crap underneath. So this one has a lot of work with the suspension and the brakes. The suspension is KW three-way shocks, so they're three-way adjustable damping. I have all the links and everything by SPL, and so I have these adjustable sway bars. The company that makes them discontinued them, but like White Line makes something similar. These are a little bit better than the White Line ones, but and there's like a little things I did to correct the suspension geometry and stuff, relocate some of the pivot points. Like I think this the GT-R has too much anti-dive in the front, so I took some of that out. Gee, what else? You probably noticed it rides kind of rough, like especially with the
I didn't want to say anything, brother, but I do feel like it is a bit firm, but all-out performance, that's what you get, right, my man?
Yeah, I mean, basically it has all spherical bearings, so considering that there's no bushings, you know, the ride's not too bad, and, you know, in this area the streets are really bad.
Yes, and we must all remember that you take this thing straight to the track, right? You're ready to go. So this is an all-purpose machine, so there has to be some sort of compromise, right? Kind of like being married.
Yeah.
When I was shooting the GT-R, Mike, I noticed that you have some amazing wheels, and behind those wheels are just some incredible carbon ceramic brakes, and I love carbon ceramic brakes. What's the deal with those? Were those factory?
They're actually factory for a JDM Nismo.
Wow.
And you know, they're awesome brakes, but the bad thing is they cost more than a lot of people's cars.
I see a common trend here with everything you do. Costs a lot.
but you know, like they're huge. They're like 420 millimeters and forged monoblock calipers. And you know what? This might sound stupid, but you know, like what I like the most about carbon ceramics is, I mean, I'm sure you've had a lot of high performance cars. You know how they have that gross black brake dust?
You and I are kindred spirits, brother. I feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, like these things, they don't even make any brake dust, so your wheels stay clean. I would be mad because I'd spend a few hours cleaning up the car, getting it all nice, drive it 2 blocks, and my wheels are black.
I'm all with you. I don't care. I just don't like brake dust.
The other cool thing is, you know, I got these Advan wheels. They're forged, and I have these Nito tires. They're a lot bigger than stock, and they're R compound, so they're super sticky.
Does this car also have the lithium-ion anti-gravity battery in it to save weight?
With the battery, the wheels, some changes in the cross members, you know, like I've saved like over 200 pounds out of the weight of the car. Half of that's rotating weight, and yeah, I mean 200 pounds, and I didn't give up any of the luxury or features. You know, it has a full interior and everything.
You know, that's the thing I think that's most often overlooked, and that is, you know, a lot of people just look at power and everything, but weight is so critical, especially for someone who's a pure driver like Mike. I think you'll agree that not only does it help as far as performance, but it also has that aspect of the balance and the handling, right?
And 200 pounds is a lot.
Yes, so and I weigh sitting here.
And when you think about it, I mean, this takes this car from 3,900 pounds to like 37.
Wow, jeez, man.
And when it's 37, the weight starts to not seem so ridiculous, right?
Yes. Now, Mike, how hard was it to get your brakes? Because I know you love them so much.
I was fortunate that I had a friend in Japan that was able to locate these almost brand new brakes in a Japanese junkyard of someone that wrecked their Nismo with only like a couple hundred miles.
Now, if someone's watching this who wants to modify their GT-R and loves the brakes as much as I do and thinks, you know what, I'd like to get that for my GT-R, is that something that they would want to contact you to possibly source?
I mean, I could, but the price is like $15,000. But I was really fortunate to have a friend in Japan in the right place at the right time that was able to like get these lightly used ones for a significantly lower price. But that's like a once in a lifetime kind of deal, you know what I mean?
Understood. Well, that just makes this car that much more special. And then again, too, I will be like all of you, trying to convince Mike to help me if I get an R35. But in the meantime...
Yeah, you got it. I'll help you. And he won't want to drive those fancy cars anymore.
And well, for those of you that potentially are looking to upgrade the brakes and love the carbon ceramics as much as Mike and I do, I would recommend contacting him. He's the man.
I mean, that's one of the things, like I was telling you, the GT-R is one of the few cars that you can build the heck out of, and, you know, it's still a good daily driver. You know, like, I'm planning to like get this thing up to about 1,200 horsepower, and at that level, it won't even drive any different than it does right now.
Are you sure, brother? I mean, you and I have come a long ways from everything we've done, but there always seems to be some sort of trade-off. Now, with the GT-R being like that, yes, it's a huge selling point, but what are you at right now? What level horsepower are you at, and what have you done as far as just power? We know already that it's a race machine as far as the suspension department, and quite honestly, even when I first met Mike many, many years ago, he was just #1 on suspension. I mean, he was the best of the best. Everyone went to him, and he's obviously applied it to this. But what type of power do you have for this machine that seems to be just running perfect?
Right now, it's putting out 665 to the wheels with about 600, almost 650 foot-pounds of torque.
Wow.
And it's just done with bolt-ons, basically. So all the tuning is with a Cobb axis port, and it has injector dynamics, 1300cc injectors. It has an ITM brushless fuel pump as the primary pump, and the AEM pump is the secondary pump. It has like a Greddy front mount intercooler and all the Greddy charge pipes. Greddy downpipes, and Greddy titanium exhaust.
See that my man here is a huge fan of Greddy.
Well, Kenji's one of my best friends, so
that would explain it.
I got to give Kenji props.
Very cool. And as far as what you're making now, where's the next weak link? I mean, can you just keep going?
Right now, the weak link is the connecting rods and the engine, and the transmission's the weak link. So this is about as much power as you can make and still have it completely reliable.
Okay, and how much further can you go with the trans?
This is the limit that the trans can take and be really reliable, this power level. I mean, the car's kind of detuned, so I'm not in the zone that can break anything. So we did a lot of, when we were tuning it, like we kept the boost to hold the torque below 650 foot-pounds. And so it could actually make even more power on the stock turbos, but we don't want to break anything.
Well, you've obviously done a lot already. I mean, as far as moving on, is this already using standalone engine management?
No, it's the stock ECU with the Cobb access port. Cobb has really figured out the architecture of the stock ECU. So, I mean, you could do just about anything with the access port that you could with a standalone, actually.
It's amazing how much things have changed, because before it had to be standalone. I mean, for this thing to run like this, still in the factory ECU, is just monumental. Now, as we move on, I mean, what's the target horsepower and how are you going to achieve it? And what are you going to do about the trans?
Shep Trans is building me a pretty heavy-duty transmission that's going to be designed to be perfectly reliable with 1,200 foot-pounds of torque.
Wow.
And, you know, it's a stage 4 transmission, so that's, I mean, he has all the way up to stage 10 or something, I think, you know, for those guys with 2,000 plus horsepower.
Jeez.
But I'm going to be running a stage 4 tranny that takes 1,200 foot-pounds. You know, I have a clutch-type limited slip that's going in there. I'm going to have a billet front differential case with a helical type differential in the front, drive shaft shop axles. So that way, you know, I can pretty send it, boost on the line.
Okay, now for those that are modifying their GT-Rs, Mike, how far can they go on the factory front diff with the factory housing without going billet and upgrading the axles?
You know, like, it depends. Like, if you have a user programmable center diff controller and you put more power to the front, maybe about 1,000 horsepower is where you have to worry about breaking the front diff. But if you're using the factory center diff control, it's you can go, like, I don't know, over 1,000 and not worrying about breaking it. But
wow.
You know, while I'm in there and everything's out of the car, you know, it's cheap insurance, I figure.
This is a smart man. He's going to address everything, so hopefully that minimizes any work that he would have to do down the road, because knowing Mike the way I know Mike, this will be good for now, and then he'll keep going and making more and more. I mean, the transmission sounds phenomenal, but how much does something like that cost? Just ballpark.
Maybe 30 grand.
So, as you can see, this is not a cheap adventure, because that's just your trans and your target horsepower with the engine and what's going to need to be done to the power plant and everything to get the power that you want reliably.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get a brand new Nissan block, and we're going to use a Boost Logic main bed plate girdle. We're going to cryogenically treat everything, and our friends over at D-Sport, they're going to do all the machining because they have all the fixtures and torque plates. And that's going to be the block. Then we're going to get a Callie's crank, Callie's rods, and Mala pistons. And really the bottom end will probably be good for 2,000 horsepower, even though we're not going to run it that high. We're only going to shoot for 1,200 about.
Now, just interject this, that you'll find this theme with the seasoned veterans like Mike. They'll always overbuild to get that insurance factor and hopefully minimize problems down the road, which will make his, I guess you could call it, if you wanted, daily driver even more reliable.
Well, I mean, the idea is I want to build something that can whoop any exotic cars, but just be just as reliable as a factory exotic car.
Understand. Well, I'm sure with you, my friend, that is not going to be a problem. I will make sure I stay far away from my friend here unless I have something that goes really, really fast.
Well, I mean, the thing about the GT-R that's really unique in the tuner world is the GT-R is about the only car that can pull that kind of thing off. Like, the GT-R is a really strong car, and it has really researched aftermarket support. So it's possible to have 1,200 horsepower with perfect streetability and perfect, like, factory-like reliability.
That's a feat in itself. But somebody like me who now is retired and really doesn't want to have any issues, I think I'm sold, because I definitely believe what you're telling me that it can be made bulletproof. But there is that whole emissions thing that I have to deal with in my area. Is it something that I should be worried about?
Yes.
Okay, so that might
we are in Mexico right now.
Yes, we are in Mexico right now, but of course when I go back home to California, what exactly am I going to do if
we're going to convert to completely stock when we go back to California.
Okay, but what do I do? So I take Mike's advice and I get a GT-R, and of course I'm going to enlist his expert opinion on how to modify it, see if he'll be a great friend to help me out. What do I do when that time comes up that I need to go pass emissions?
Move.
Well, I guess it's a good thing I'm looking for property out of the state, because it does look like there might be some issues on that department, but I'm sure if you're looking down this road, you probably already know that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's pretty difficult in this state, but we're going to be somewhere else. Like, I'm planning to move too.
Understood. That seems to be the trend with all of us. Well, the car is amazing. I definitely think that I need to look into it. I do have a question for you, and just doubling back on Mike's history. He used to be a superstar engineer in Nissan when I met him. That's why he was able to help me with all my Nissan projects, but all in all, just a great guy. But now as we move down this and you're trying to convince me to get an R35, isn't the R35 coming near the end of its life expectancy?
You know, they just had another minor facelift, so I think it's at least a few more years. Okay. And I'm pretty sure when they redo it, it's going to be a hybrid, and I don't know, I'm not into that too much.
Okay, so your advice for anybody thinking R35 is still the way to go, you're fairly certain it will be hybrid?
Yeah, I don't have any secret information, but then that's kind of the rumor, and it's kind of like where performance is going nowadays. You know, like the hybrid it'll probably have great performance, you know what I mean? But I mean, there's no way that, you know, even the person could get the resources to like build it, right? So this is going to be the last of the cars you could actually work on.
Mike speaks the truth, and as many of you know, I held off a long time on the NSX. The Type S convinced me, but I'm definitely going to be fighting an uphill battle, even with great friends like Mike. They're all willing to admit that it's just so difficult to work on those cars. So I think what we learned for today is, one is, if you want to be like Mike, you need to have a huge pile of money, and then of course you want to go with the R35, and then that way you can build something that can just destroy exotic cars like the cars that I love so dearly and be reliable. But on top of all that, you need to move out of California if you happen to be here. Did I get it in summation what you're kind of advising me?
Yes.
Unfortunately, man. Yes, well, I don't know what Drew and Natalia will say about that. I just want to say thanks so much, Mike, for taking me out in your amazing GT-R. It was such a blast, and this is just an epic machine. And usually when I get into these cars that are heavily modified, I must admit, they don't idle right. I see a check engine light. I mean, this thing's rock solid. So
yeah.
Other than that, I mean...
And they usually have some kind of weird quirks.
It is true.
I mean, I could take this thing and drive it to Vegas and be like in perfect comfort, other than the race type suspension.
You know what I'm thinking? I don't know. I've got a few hours and you drive so fast, maybe we should shoot over to Vegas. Call JC up, have him meet us there, possibly go to one of his favorite strip clubs. You go up for that?
I wanted to take it out and beat it like a rented donkey.
No strip club.
At least on
my family might be watching this.
Fair enough, my friend. Fair enough.
But, you know, I have to get a Christmas tree today.
I'm sorry, are you possibly thinking of taking the GT-R to get a Christmas tree?
No, I mean, that's on my list of chores to do today, and so I don't think I could go to Vegas.
Okay, understood. Well, I just wanted to throw it out there because I had a little bit of extra time.
Maybe next week.
Fair enough, my friend. Well, sounds like a plan. Well, again, I want to thank Mike for hanging out with me, showing me his awesome machine. Again, check him out on Instagram. He's always got crazy stuff, and of course his YouTube channel, Moto IQ. It's just stuff that's the best of the best, especially for all you people that are into tech like myself. A lot of you ask how I know what I know. Well, it's great people like this that are willing to help me. So, my friend, thanks again for hanging out with me.
Yeah, it's always fun, Adam.
All right, guys. Well, have a great weekend. See you next time.
See you later.